15 minutes from 95th to downtown. I-57 inbound near 119th Street. Watch out for a collision there. That has only the right shoulder blocked right now. Libertyville. There's rail crossing gate repair going on 21 south of Winchester. You may want to seek an alternate with at least partial road blockage in that area. Metro reports a delay on the Union Pacific Northwest line outbound. It's a switch problem. It's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center. Patchy fog this morning burning off. Otherwise, times of clouds and sunshine at a high of 58. Currently 37 at O'Hare. Your next news update at 9. Breaking news as it happens. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, best beans, best roast, best coffee.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, and this is terrible news.
What? Oh my gosh, what else could go wrong?
Well, the passing of Ed Farmer. Longtime radio broadcaster for the White Sox, pitched for the White Sox, played 11 years in the majors. I loved Ed Farmer.
Haven't you?
Yeah, he's a great broadcaster. Loved him calling games.
Was it COVID related?
No indication of that. He was 70 years old, but no indication, at least from what I'm seeing, no indication of cause. So rest in peace, Ed Farmer. No, that's too bad. That's really too bad. Larry David filmed a PSA.
Yeah. He didn't come up with the idea on his own, though. I think he was kind of forced to do it, don't you?
Yeah, you know how I know that? Because he said so.
Because he said
in his PSA. This is, per the state of California, but of course it's for everybody, including Curb fans like myself.
Hello, I'm Larry David. Obviously, somebody put me up to this because it's generally not the kind of thing I do, but I basically want to address the idiots out there, and you know who you are. You're going out. I don't know what you're doing. You're socializing too close. It's not good. You're hurting old people like me. Well, not me. I have nothing to do with you. I'll never see you. But let's say other old people who might be your relatives. Who the hell knows? But the problem is you're passing up a fantastic opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity, to stay in the house, sit on the couch, and watch TV. I mean, I don't know how you're passing that up. Well, maybe because you're not that bright. But here it is. Go home, watch TV. That's my advice to you. If you've seen my show, nothing good ever happens going out of the house. You know that. There's just trouble out there. It's not a good place to be. So stay home and don't see anyone, except maybe if there's a plumbing emergency, let the plumber in and then, wipe everything down after he leaves. But that's it.
I did have a plumbing emergency and wiped everything down after he left. So
Well,
thank you, Larry David.
He is missing
How do
golf.
you know?
I can assure you he's missing golf as much as I am. Remember, he started the word out. He started that GoFundMe page for caddies at
caddies.
Riviera Country Club, where he's obviously a member. So you can stay at home and you can watch, binge watch Curb Your Enthusiasm or Tiger King or some such thing.
Have you watched Tiger King yet?
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Oh, I haven't started. I'm waiting for a real
It is.
shutdown to take place to start that. Is it good?
It is. It is otherworldly, and
Really?
but not in a positive way. It's like you cannot believe there are people like this on the planet kind of way. So it's sort of like watching a 7 or 8 episode car crash.
Well, the guy with the blonde mullet that's featured in that, he's in jail, obviously.
His
Spoiler
name
alert.
is Joe Exotic.
Okay,
for
and
those of
Joe
you,
Exotic,
yeah.
he's been in isolation now because of fears of COVID. They don't want him to get it, apparently.
Okay. Well, there's other things you can do at home besides doing what I'm doing. I'm reading a lot more, too, catching up on my reading. But if you're still in school, Obviously, distance learning is the order of the day, both in private schools as well as public schools. But there was an important piece, so much focus on K through 12 education. I understand that's where 90% of kids go in public schools. But the 10% who don't, they matter too. And the systems, private school systems, charter systems, vocational schools as well, how they're coping with this. Those that cannot be so reliant on, well, charters can, but private institutions that cannot be so reliant on taxpayer funding, but provide an important choice in education. How are they coping with this? For more to answer that question, I'm pleased to be joined by Kathleen Porter-Magee. She is a senior visiting fellow at the Fordham Institute, superintendent of partnership schools, a network of 7 urban Catholic schools in Harlem and the South Bronx. Kathleen Porter-Magee, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
And you wrote a piece for the Fordham Institute where you talked about the hammering that Catholic schools are taking, sort of twofold. Why don't you describe what's happening?
Yeah, well, first, I guess now we're up to more than 90% of the schools across the country have closed down to stop the spread of coronavirus. Catholic schools, obviously, among them. And one of the biggest threats that private schools in general, Catholic schools, in particular, face when schools close is the threat of losing tuition. And for us, so as you said, I serve as superintendent of partnership schools. We run 7 urban Catholic schools. We serve predominantly disadvantaged communities. The average or the median income level of the students we serve is about $26,000 a year in the most expensive city in the world. And right now, those are the communities being hardest hit by the virus, both in terms of job loss and also in terms of the actual medical impact. And so obviously, while it's difficult for them to pay anything to choose a faith or values-driven education for their kids, even in the best of times, at a time like this, they just simply can't do it. And it's not because they don't want to go to Catholic schools, but it's just simply because they can't afford to pay, particularly now. And so Catholic schools are facing, the very real crisis of a loss of tuition and fees and income, particularly in non-choice states like New York, where we don't have any public money to support our schools. But then also, in addition, our Catholic communities are being hit because obviously churches have had to close also to stop the spread of coronavirus. So as Catholic schools, we think we're community institutions first and foremost, and we have been supporting, in places like Chicago and New York and Boston, have been supporting disadvantaged communities for 200 plus years. And the fact that we've faced both the shutdown of schools, the loss of tuition and fees, and also the shutdown of the center of our faith community, it's a real challenge.
Well, so you're going to have to come up with some type of fundraiser. And besides, GoFundMe, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, so we're really lucky at partnership schools, and I think this is true across the country. We have a really deeply committed group of funders who are helping us make ends meet. And in fact, one of the things that we immediately, as soon as we saw this coming in New York, and obviously New York right now is the epicenter of the crisis in America, we immediately waived tuition and fees for all of our families so that they just wouldn't have to make the choice between keeping their kids in Catholic schools and just putting food on the table throughout the crisis. So we waived tuition and fees. And we also, thanks to the support of some really generous donors, including our board chair, we established a COVID-19 family relief fund. So in addition to waiving tuition and fees, we've raised additional money to provide direct support to our families, in part because that's what Catholic communities do. We understand that it's not about the survival of just an institution, but about the survival and the support of the communities. So we are, we're trying to come together and are lucky that we have donors to help us do that. And in addition, obviously the COVID CARES federal relief package, we're looking to maximize any benefit we can get from that as well, whether it's offsetting payroll, because we've also committed to paying all of our faculty staff, including our hourly staff, like our cafeteria workers, who otherwise, when school would shut down, would completely lose their paycheck. So we're trying to get creative. We're trying to make the most of the relief that's out there. We are certainly leaning on the generosity and support of the donors that we have, who are really just themselves faithful and amazing and unfailingly generous people. And we're just, hoping and praying that will continue and trying to get really creative about how we do it.
It's also a teachable moment, right, in terms of Catholicism, in terms of the faith, the idea of suffering, and that suffering is part of human existence, and there's real benefits that come from suffering, like the ability to better counsel and comfort others in suffering. And so this is an opportunity for Catholic schools and Catholics to lead by example in this time of suffering.
I think that's exactly right. And also a moment of just like amazing resilience. One of the things I think about it, Catholic schools, unlike I think large, public school districts that don't face the very real financial threats that I think a lot of Catholic schools face on an almost daily basis, or certainly on an annual basis, there is very much an adapt or die mentality where you see the need to be resilient and to think creatively. And I have to say, I've just been so humbled by the work of our principals and our teachers throughout this time. We immediately, the day we shut down, we sent home 100% of our students with work so that their learning wouldn't stop even in the first week of the shutdown. And then our teachers and our leaders converted, even though we're not blended learning schools, we're not online schools. In fact, we are happy Luddites usually, where we prefer paper and pencil and to read great books. But we realized that, okay, when we've got the students, we don't want to use the technology, but when we lose the students in our buildings, we need the technology to reach out to them. So we've connected with 100% of our students and families. We immediately shifted to some distance learning, and our teachers they're so resilient. Our families are so resilient. They're doing an amazing job. And I think that's part of the reason that we want to make sure that we're preserving Catholic schools. I think now more than ever, when you see this amazing resilience, you see the adaptability in the face of some of the most extreme crises, you see that these are institutions that go well beyond just teaching and learning, that do something for American education and for their communities that is deeper and even more important.
So is it interactive e-learning, and how many hours a day are you on, or like actual instruction time?
Yeah, it depends on the grade level. So we're trying to also be manageable. We understand as well that, in addition to being a Catholic school administrator, I'm a Catholic school mom. And so I get what it's like on the home front if your kids are overwhelmed or frustrating and you have to shift to homeschooling immediately and are not prepared to do so. So we're trying
I'm
to
not
be
a good homeschooler.
Oh my goodness, it's hard, right?
It's impossible.
So we're trying to be manageable, and our younger grades have less work than our older grades, where they can be a little bit more self-sufficient. We also have to balance. It can't all be online because, first of all, we did, our schools did a great job of, they surveyed parents immediately to find out who has Wi-Fi access and who has access to devices. But then we also have to realize, just because you have one device in your house, if you've got 3 kids, they can't all be on the device at the same time doing 3 different grade levels worth of work. So we're trying to balance, real time. So we're live streaming PE classes, we're live streaming our morning assemblies and our prayers, but then we're also capturing videos so that folks can access them later, because we understand it. In addition to being able to adapt to meet the needs of kids, we also need to be manageable and meet the needs of parents.
She is Kathleen Porter-Magee, Senior Visiting Fellow at the Fordham Institute and Superintendent of Partnership Schools, a network of 7 urban Catholic schools in Harlem and the South Bronx. Kathleen Porter-Magee, thanks so much for your time. Good luck with your schools. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means the prescription medication to treat ED is super affordable at 4hims.com. And now get your first online doctor's visit free at 4hims.com. That's right. 0 copay, no awkward face-to-face conversations to get your prescription. That's really good news. To start your free online visit, go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/joy.
I know a lot of us are anxious this time of during this pandemic, but relax, because stressing hurts your immune system. And the best defense right now against this virus is our immune system. So reduce your anxiety by taking care of yourself. Be proactive and boost your immune system. How can I do that? Well, doctors say enough sleep, exercise, and eating a well-balanced diet, which we have to admit we're not doing on our own, especially during this time when a lot of us like to shove comfort foods in our mouths. So you should be taking balance of